Beyond the Screen, A Gamer's Journey to the New Worlds. Chapter 1. Lost in the Game. It was a sweltering summer day in New York City, and the streets were teeming with people trying to escape the oppressive heat. Jack, Anna, and Alex were no exception. They had been wandering around aimlessly, trying to think of something to do, when they stumbled upon the local arcade. It was a dingy, dimly lit place, with rows of flickering screens and flashing neon lights. As they made their way through the crowded arcade, they noticed a large crowd gathered around a new game called the Odyssey. It was a massive machine with a huge headset and a full bodysuit that players had to wear. Jack was intrigued, but also a little nervous. He had never played a virtual reality game before, and the thought of being completely immersed in a world he couldn't control was a little unsettling. "Hey guys, check it out," Anna said, pointing to the booth. "This must be the game everyone's been talking about, the one that has awesome quests that you need to complete and weapons to obtain." "I don't know," Alex said, eyeing the crowd warily. "It looks pretty intense." Despite feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety, Jack was drawn towards the booth with flashing lights and the excited chatter of other players. While waiting in line, he couldn't shake off the thought of whether he was ready for this new and exciting virtual reality game or not. Finally, it was their turn to play. Jack, Anna, and Alex each donned the headset and bodysuit and were instantly transported into a breathtakingly beautiful world. The sun was shining down on them, and they could hear the sound of waves crashing against the shore. They could even feel a cool breeze blowing through their hair. "This is amazing!" Anna exclaimed, twirling around in the virtual world. "I feel like I'm really here." Before long, Jack, Anna, and Alex were having fun and completing quests by hunting monsters to get awarded with better swords, shields, armor, bows, and arrows. As they began to explore the world, they noticed other players around them, some of whom seemed to be struggling to navigate the game. Jack overheard one player muttering to himself, "I can't get out. I can't get out." Jack felt a chill run down his spine. He suddenly wondered what kind of game they had gotten themselves into. Soon, Alex checked the time on the top left corner of his vision and said, "Hey guys, I have my soccer practice in a few minutes." "Sure, Alex," said Jack. "We will see you soon." "Bye, guys," said Alex. "Bye," both Anna and Jack said. Guys, I think I can't log out," shouted Alex. "Quit joking around, Alex," commented Anna. "I'm not joking, guys," said Alex. "He's right," Jack commented. "I just tried to do it, but there isn't any log out button. And I even tried to take off the headset, but it just seemed like I was scratching my head." Tension mounted as Jack, Anna, and Alex tried to log out of the Odyssey, but their efforts were met with frustration as the game refused to release them from its grasp. Panic set in as they tried to remove their headsets in the real world, only to find themselves still trapped inside the game. The Odysseys had felt exciting at first, with its realistic graphics and immersive gameplay. But now, as the three friends struggled to distinguish between what was real and what wasn't, it had turned into a nightmare. It's getting more difficult to even remember how they got there, let alone how to escape. "We have to get out," Jack said, sounding desperate. The three friends gathered together, looking around at the Odyssey that had become their prison. Anna was crying. "But how can we escape? What do we do?" Alex put his arm around Anna to comfort her. "We can't give up. We'll keep trying until we find a way out." Their hope was once shining bright like the sun, but now it flickered like a small candle. To make matters worse, as they explored the game world, they realized that something sinister was at play. It was as if the game was alive and manipulating them, making it even harder for them to break free. The lines between the game and reality were becoming increasingly blurred, and they could feel themselves getting lost in the game's world. Chapter 2. Arrival in a New World. As Jack and his friends made their way through the game, they discussed their plans for finding a way out. "I heard there's a secret exit in the abandoned village," said Jack. "Maybe we should check it out." "I don't know," replied Anna. "We've already explored that area pretty thoroughly. I think we need to look somewhere else." Just then, they heard a voice calling out to them. "Hey there, fellow adventurers!" They turned to see a single man approaching them. A stout man with a beard stepped forward. "Name's Uncle Roger," he said. "I couldn't help but overhear you talking about finding a way out. I've been searching for it myself, and I think I may have found a lead." The group eagerly gathered around Uncle Roger, who shared what he knew about the rumored exit. "There's a secret dungeon near here," he explained. "It's locked, but I've got a few tricks up my sleeve when it comes to picking locks. With your help, we might be able to find what we're looking for." Excitement filled the group as they set off towards the dungeon, determined to uncover the secret exit. As the group pushed through the dense forest, their eyes were drawn to a small opening in the rocks ahead. Alex stepped forward, his curiosity piqued, and peered into the darkness. It was then that he spotted the faint glimmer of a light deep within the cave. With a sense of excitement and trepidation, the group made their way inside. The walls of the cave were slick with moisture, the air thick with the scent of damp earth. As they moved deeper into the darkness, the sound of their footsteps echoed off the walls. Just when they thought they were completely lost, Anna stumbled upon something on the ground. It was a bundle of old torches, their wood long since dry and brittle. Trembling, Alex struck a match and ignited the first torch. The flame danced to life, sending strange shadows skittering over the cave walls. With each step, the group plunged deeper into the cavern, the flickering light of the torches casting eerie shapes and casting sinister shadows all around them. Before long, they reached the edge of a colossal chasm, its depths shrouded in darkness. Anna tentatively approached the edge, her heart racing as she peered down into the black abyss below. The silence was deafening, broken only by the soft crackle of the torch flames. A narrow bridge spanned the gap, its surface slick with moisture. Anna took a hesitant step forward, her heart pounding in her chest. Suddenly the bridge gave way beneath her feet, and she plummeted into the abyss. Alex lunged forward, his fingers barely catching her wrist. She dangled precariously above the void, her grip on his arm weakening. Jack and Uncle Roger scrambled to their aid, but the weight of all four threatened to drag them all down. With their combined strength, they managed to pull Anna back to safety, but the bridge was gone, and their path forward was now uncertain. The group was shaken by their near brush with death. They knew they couldn't continue on the same path, but they had no other leads. Frustration and fear threatened to overtake them. Just as they were about to give up hope, Jack noticed a faint glimmer in the darkness ahead. It was a hidden lever, obscured by the shadows. With a sense of excitement and trepidation, they pulled the lever, and the floor beneath them shifted. A secret passage was revealed, leading them to a series of hidden steps. The group was exhilarated by their discovery, but also wary of what lay ahead. They knew they had to tread carefully, for every step could mean the difference between life and death in this virtual world. Heart pounding with anticipation, they ascended the hidden steps, their torches casting flickering shadows on the walls around them. Each step felt like an eternity as they made their way down, their eyes scanning every inch of the surrounding darkness. Finally, they arrived at the bottom of the hidden steps. Their hearts raced as they took in the sight before them, a dark and foreboding dungeon, shrouded in mystery and danger. But as they approached, they realized that their path was blocked by a formidable steel lock, its surface gleaming dully in the dim torchlight. "Let me take a crack at this," said Uncle Roger, pulling out a set of lockpicks. After a few tense moments, there was a satisfying click, and the door swung open. The group stood in awe before the glowing gateway, their eyes transfixed on the intricate patterns that adorned its surface. As they approached, the hum of energy grew louder. Jack tentatively reached out his hand and placed it on the gateway's surface. He felt a surge of energy flow through him, and the gateway's surface pulsed with light. With a sense of excitement and trepidation, the group followed Jack's lead and placed their hands on the gateway. As they stood there, their hands glowing with the same blue light as the gateway, a holographic interface appeared before them. It displayed a series of buttons and symbols, each one more cryptic than the last. The group exchanged nervous glances, unsure of how to proceed. Finally, Jack stepped forward and pressed a button, hoping for the best. The gateway pulsed again, and they felt its pull grow stronger. With a rush of wind, they were drawn into the gateway, the world around them fading to white. They felt weightless, adrift in a sea of swirling colors and blinding light. Their world spun and tumbled around them until they hit the ground with a resounding thud. Their senses were disoriented, leaving them confused as they struggled to make sense of their new surroundings. Chapter 3. The Risky Plan. "It's so foggy. I can't really see what's in front of me. Where are we?" asked Alex. "I don't know," said Jack, "but there's something about this place. It feels different, like we're getting close to the end game." The group stood around feeling lost, unsure of where to go next. The dense fog obscured their vision, making it difficult to see more than a few feet in front of them. Suddenly, Jack pointed towards the direction they were heading. "Wait a minute. Do you see that?" he said, squinting his eyes in concentration. As the others followed his gaze, they could make out the faint silhouette of a castle hidden behind the fog. With a newfound sense of purpose, they pushed through the fog, making their way towards the castle. The closer they got, the clearer it became, until they were standing at the base of the towering stone walls, feeling both awed and apprehensive. What could be waiting for us inside? Wondered Jack. "We can do this," said Anna, her voice shaking slightly. "We've come too far to give up now." The team pushed the doors and it creaked open, revealing a dark and foreboding interior. "Let's go," said Jack, leading the way. "We're so close now I can feel it." As they ventured deeper into the castle, the air grew colder, and they could hear the sound of their own heartbeats pounding in their ears. But they had hope. Hope that they could overcome the challenges that lay ahead and finally escape the Odyssey. The group continued their exploration inside the towering castle, their nerves on edge as they navigated through its winding corridors. They expected some level of danger, but nothing could prepare them for the sight that greeted them. The second wall with a heavy gate was guarded by an army of hideous goblins, each of them brandishing wicked swords in their gnarled hands. The group froze in shock as they took in the grotesque sight before them. The goblins' beady eyes followed their every move, and their gruff voices taunted the group, daring them to try and pass. The tension was almost suffocating as the group realized the true danger they faced. The metallic gleam of their swords flashed in the sunlight, and their menacing scowls made the group's skin crawl. The stench of their putrid breath filled the air, and the sight of their warty green skin made the group shudder with disgust. It was clear that these goblins were not to be taken lightly, and the group needed to be careful if they wanted to get past them. "We come in peace!" shouted Jack, raising his hand in a gesture of peace. But the goblins just charged in their direction with their swords drawn, ready to attack. As Jack and his companions drew their flaming swords and sturdy shields, Jack yelled, "This isn't going to be pretty!" "Get ready, everyone, we can take them," said Uncle Roger, his voice full of willpower. "Keep your shields up and stick together," yelled Alex, trying to stay calm despite the chaos around him. The battlefield erupted into chaos as the two opposing sides clashed in a brutal struggle. The sharp clang of swords and the thunderous thud of shields colliding filled the air as the combatants battled with ferocity and skill. Against all odds, Jack and his friends stood firm, refusing to be intimidated by the sheer numbers and strength of their goblin foes. With every swing of their swords and every thrust of their spears, they fought with fierce power, their eyes locked on their enemies with unflinching focus. Sweat poured down their faces and their muscles burned with the effort of each strike. The battle raged on, the outcome uncertain, as the team fight for their survival. "This is insane! How many of these things are there?" exclaimed Alex, dodging a goblin strike. "Too many, but we can do this," replied Jack, blocking another attack with his shield. While making their way through the castle's winding corridors, they began to notice something peculiar. The ferocious goblins they were battling were not mere mindless creatures of a game, as they appeared to have real intelligence, evidenced by the complex traps and other snares they kept setting, actions that were beyond the scope of a typical mindless beast. "These things are smarter than we thought. They're setting traps for us," yelled Anna, narrowly avoiding a pitfall. Finally, after what seemed like hours of battling, Jack and his friends emerged victorious. As they scanned the area to look for an exit, then Alex shouted, "Hey, I found a portal!" Anna raised an eyebrow skeptically. "Another portal?" she asked. "Are we sure this one will take us where we need to go?" Anna hesitated, her doubts growing stronger. But the others, fueled by desperation, urged her to trust them and take the leap of faith. With trembling hands, they reached for the portal, their fingers brushing against the pulsing surface. Suddenly, the portal lit up, engulfing them in blinding light. They felt as if they were being pulled apart and then put back together again, disorienting and dizzying. Finally, the light faded, and they found themselves in a new location, gasping for air and checking each other for injuries. They had no idea where they were, but they were alive and hopeful that they had found their way back home. Chapter 4. The Guardians' Challenge. As the group had already defeated the goblins, they were left feeling relieved. They had been through a lot to get to this point. Alex was the first to speak up, breaking the heavy silence that had settled over the group. "Well, this has to be it," he said, his voice strained from the physical and emotional toll of the battle. Suddenly, a voice interrupted them. "You think it's that easy, don't you?" The group spun around, weapons at the ready, to find a figure standing before them. It wore a dark cloak that concealed its body, while the face was hidden in shadow. The figure stepped forward, revealing nothing but the glint of its eyes. "I am the guardian of the Odyssey," the figure said in a raspy voice that seemed to come from the depths of the underworld, "and you shall not leave until you have completed my challenge." The figure's words echoed through the chamber, causing the walls to tremble and the ground to shake beneath their feet. Jack narrowed his eyes suspiciously. "What challenge?" he asked. "Find the ancient tree and haunted forest and solve the riddle," the guardian replied, a sinister gleam in his eye. The group exchanged a worried glance. They had heard rumors about the haunted forest, a place where the trees whispered secrets and the shadows moved on their own. "That sounds risky," Anna said, her voice trembling slightly. Jack weighed their options quickly. "We don't have much of a choice," he said. "We need to complete his challenge if we want to leave." The group followed the Guardian's instructions, making their way to the haunted forest. As they entered the forest, the group's mood began to shift from one of relief to one of uncertainty. The trees towered above them, their twisted branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The ground was covered in a thick layer of dead leaves and twigs, making it difficult to walk quietly. As they walked deeper into the forest, they noticed strange symbols etched into the trees. They appeared to be ancient runes, their meaning lost to time. The group stopped to examine them, trying to decipher their purpose. "These runes look like they were made by magic," said Uncle Roger, tracing his fingers along the markings. "I don't like the look of this," said Jack, his hand hovering over his sword hilt. "We need to keep moving." The forest grew denser, and strange creatures began to emerge from the shadows. They were unlike anything the group had ever seen before, with glowing eyes and razor-sharp teeth. As they journeyed further into the forest, they began to feel a sense of unease wash over them. The trees creaked and groaned in the wind, and strange noises echoed from the shadows. The hairs on the back of their necks stood up, and they gripped their weapons tightly. "Stay close, everyone," said Jack, his eyes scanning the darkness. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew through the forest, causing the runes on the trees to glow with an eerie light. "What's happening?" asked Alex, his voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know, but we need to keep moving," replied Jack, his voice firm. The group pressed on, the forest becoming denser with every step. The shadows grew longer and the air grew colder. They could feel the eyes of the creatures watching them, and they quickened their pace. As they walked deeper into the forest, they suddenly found themselves at the foot of a massive tree. It was easily 100 feet tall, its gnarled roots twisting and turning into the earth. Its trunk was covered in strange markings, and its branches reached out like skeletal fingers. "This must be it," said Anna, pointing to the tree. Suddenly, a voice boomed out, shaking the ground beneath their feet. "Who dares disturb the tree of the ancients?" The group looked around, their weapons at the ready. They saw no one, only the massive tree towering over them. "We mean no harm," said Jack, his voice steady. "We're just trying to complete the Guardian's challenge." There was a moment of silence, and then the voice spoke again. "Very well. If you wish to complete the challenge, you must answer my riddle." The group braced themselves, ready for whatever was to come. "I am not alive, but I grow. I don't have lungs, but I need air. I don't have a mouth, but I need wood to live. What am I?" The group thought for a moment, their minds racing. "Is it a plant?" suggested Anna. No, it must be a fungus, countered Uncle Roger. But before they could decide on an answer, the voice spoke again. Time is running out. Answer me now, or face the consequences. Alex's heart was racing as he spoke up with conviction. It's fire. Fire grows, needs oxygen to live, and burns wood. The group held their breath as the voice pondered the answer. Correct, the voice boomed. You may pass. The ground shook, and a hidden passage was revealed beneath the roots of the tree. The group descended into the darkness, unsure of what awaited them. Chapter 5. A Blessing or a Curse. The passage was dark and damp, the only light coming from the torches they carried. The air was thick with the smell of musty earth and mildew. They walked for what felt like hours, their nerves on edge as they waited for something to jump out at them. Finally, the passage opened up into a massive cavern. The walls were slick with moisture, and the ground was covered in a layer of slimy moss. As the group cautiously made their way deeper into the cavern, their eyes were drawn to the center of the room. There, atop a pedestal, sat a glowing orb that cast a radiant light throughout the space. They approached slowly, unsure of what mysteries awaited them. As they drew closer, they could feel a sense of awe and wonder wash over them. The orb seemed to pulsate with a powerful energy that they could feel coursing through their veins. They exchanged nervous glances, wondering what purpose the orb held and what dangers may be lurking in the shadows. But their curiosity soon overcame their fear, and they stepped closer to the pedestal, eager to discover the secrets it held. Perhaps this is the key to our way out, said Anna, her voice filled with wonder. Suddenly, a figure stepped out of the shadows. It was the Guardian, his twisted face contorted into a sinister smile. Well done, he said. You have completed my challenge, but before you can leave, there is one final task you must complete. The group braced themselves, their weapons at the ready. You must destroy the orb, the Guardian said, his voice filled with malice. The group hesitated. They had come so far, fought so hard, and now they were being asked to destroy the very thing that could lead them back to the real world. Why? Asked Jack, his voice steady despite the anger bubbling inside him. Because the power of the orb is too powerful, and if it falls into the wrong hands, it could get very ugly, the Guardian replied. It would twist you into something you are not. But if you destroy it, it will be gone from this world forever. Then why don't you destroy it? Asked Jack. I can't, even if I wanted to. It is against my will, replied the Guardian. The group exchanged a worried glance. They doubted the Guardian, but deep down inside they knew that the Guardian was right. But the thought of destroying the orb was almost too much to bear because they thought it was their only way out. We don't have a choice, said Alex, her voice filled with resignation. We have to destroy it. The group approached the orb, their hearts heavy. Jack raised his sword, ready to strike the final blow. But before he could bring the blade down, there was a blinding flash of light. When the light faded, the orb was gone, replaced by a figure standing in its place, and the Guardian suddenly had vanished into nothingness, and woman appeared from the light, her beauty taking our breath away. She was young, with a youthful and serene expression on her face that seemed to radiate an otherworldly aura. Her flowing white dress was adorned with intricate silver patterns that shimmered in the light. Her long, flowing hair was the purest white, cascading down her back like a river of snow. But it was the light that emanated from her hands that truly mesmerized the group. It was a soft, ethereal glow, like a halo that enveloped her entire body. It was as if she was touched by divine energy, a being of light and purity. "Who are you?" asked Anna, her voice filled with curiosity. "I am the Oracle," she said, "and I have been waiting for you." Chapter 6. The 7 Crystals. The group was stunned, staring at the Oracle in disbelief. "Waiting for us?" repeated Jack, his eyes narrowing. "What do you mean?" "I mean that you were chosen, long before you even knew of this place," the Oracle replied. "Chosen to complete a mission of great importance." "What mission?" asked Alex, stepping forward. The Oracle looked at him, her eyes piercing. "The mission of saving our world," she said. The group exchanged a confused glance. They had no idea what the Oracle was talking about. "What do you mean, saving our world?" asked Anna. The oracle sighed, as if she had expected the question. "Long ago our world was whole and perfect," she began. "But then an evil force was unleashed, a force that sought to destroy everything we hold dear. It has been slowly corrupting our world, infecting everything it touches with darkness and despair." The group listened in horror, realizing that their journey was far from over. "And how are we supposed to stop this force?" asked Jack, his voice hard. The oracle smiled, a glint in her eye. "By finding the 7 crystals," she said. "Each crystal holds a power that can be used to defeat the darkness, but they are scattered across the land, hidden in places only the bravest of heroes can find." The group exchanged a worried glance. This task seemed impossible. "And how do we know where to find these crystals?" asked Alex. The oracle looked at her, her eyes full of mystery. "You will know," she said. "The crystals will call to you, and you will feel their pull. But beware, for the darkness will stop at nothing to prevent you from finding them." The group nodded, determination in their eyes. The oracle smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "And if you guys find all the crystals and restore peace to the world, then the crystals will have enough power to transport you all home." "We won't let you down," said Uncle Roger, his voice filled with conviction. Their eyes widened with dread as she spoke of the Guardian, a once noble mage consumed by the very darkness he had sworn to fight against. They knew that he would be a formidable foe, his power great and his will unbreakable. "I know you won't," she said, "but be wary of the Guardian who is always watching," she added, her voice tinged with sadness. "He was once a noble mage, a protector of the realm. It was only the darkness that consumed him, twisting him into the very thing he swore to destroy. You must be careful, for he may be a danger to you all." With that, she disappeared in a flash of light, leaving the group alone in the cavern. They stood in silence for a moment, each lost in their own thoughts. Finally, Jack spoke up. "Well, we have our mission," he said, his voice resolute. "Let's get moving." The group nodded in unison, their eyes fixed on the task at hand. Their expressions were resolute, their bodies tense with anticipation. For they knew that their mission was vital, that the fate of this world hung in the balance. Chapter 7. The Crystal of Truth. The group left the cavern and emerged into the bright sunlight. As they walked, they discussed their next move. "We should split up," suggested Alex. "It'll be faster if we cover more ground." Jack shook his head. "No, we need to stick together. The darkness is too powerful to face alone." Anna spoke up. "But what if the crystals are in different parts of the world? We can't waste time traveling to all of them together." They continued to debate, each presenting their own arguments until a voice interrupted them. "Excuse me." They turned to see a small boy, no more than 8 years old, standing before them. "What do you want?" asked Jack, his hand on his sword hilt. The boy looked up at them, his eyes wide and innocent. "Are you looking for the crystals?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know where one of them is," he continued, his eyes shining with excitement. "I can take you there if you want." The group exchanged a hesitant glance, unsure whether to trust the young boy. But as they looked into his earnest gaze, they could sense the sincerity in his words. And so, with a sense of cautious hope, they decided to follow the boy into the unknown, trusting in his promise to lead them to the crystal they sought. "Lead the way," said Jack. The boy smiled and ran off, the group following close behind. They ran through the streets of the town, the boy leading them to a small alleyway. He stopped in front of a brick wall and turned to face them. "It's here," he said. The group looked at the wall, unsure what to do. "Move aside," said Jack, unsheathing his sword. He swung the blade at the wall, and to their surprise, a section of it swung open, revealing a small room. Inside the room was a pedestal, and on top of it sat a red glittering crystal. The group approached cautiously, unsure if it was a trap. But as they got closer, they could feel the power radiating from the crystal. It was the real deal. They each took turns holding the crystal, feeling its energy course through their veins. "We did it! We found the first crystal," said Alex, a smile on her face. But their celebration was short-lived. As they turned to leave, they were confronted by a group of dark beings. their eyes glowing with malevolence. The group drew their weapons, ready for a fight. "We meet again," said the Guardian, his twisted face grinning. "To be continued."